Well, hey, this is Dr. Stan DeKoven, Walk in Wisdom Ministries and Vision International University. That's, again, drstandekoven.com, vision.edu. Or if you want to get more information about our books and materials, you can go to booksbyvision.org. And I want to start kind of something a little bit different here. I want to do some teaching in the area that I call strategic life planning. And let me explain to you kind of where I'm coming from with this. I mean, long time ago on a planet far, far away, I played baseball. Baseball, my life. I love baseball. And I was a pretty good player. But one of the things I found is that I really had a head for baseball. I could think strategically about what should be done, shouldn't be done, who could play well in a certain situation, match up against a certain pitcher. In other words, I became aware that I was pretty knowledgeable about the game, sufficiently so that I could help others or even coach others to do a good job in their position, probably better than what they could come up with on their own. In other words, I really had a natural propensity towards coaching. Well, coaching is something that really I've done a lot throughout my life. Most of it I've done for free. Most of it's been with executives and leaders of various organizations and ministries, as well as individuals who really, they didn't need psychotherapy. I mean, I am trained as a marriage and family therapist, but that's not what they needed. They didn't need to figure out all of the reasons why they, had a hard time getting along with people or whatever the situation was. But it was more there were areas of their life that they really needed to improve. They had the abilities, the natural giftings, if you will, to be able to be successful in what they did, but there were certain patterns, certain ways of doing things, ways of thinking that needed to be adjusted so that they could be more successful in the endeavors that they were working in, whether it was business, whether it was in their personal life, in relationships, whether it was in terms of their vocation, or in their spiritual journey. Well, I've done, as I said, a lot of work with people over the years. Dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people. And what I've found is that there's certain principles, there's certain strategic planning steps that a person can take that will help them to get from point A to point Z, whatever it is they're after. And part of what I want to be focusing on is what this whole concept of strategic life planning is all about. And I want to present this to you, not just so that you might be able to benefit, but you might be interested in actually becoming a coach yourself. And if so, we want this to be, this introduction to strategic planning, to be something that will be beneficial to you as an individual watching this as an individual program or a series of programs. But also, if you're interested in really helping others to help them become everything God intended for them to be, this is the kind of the first step in that direction. So we call it, again, strategic life planning. We'll discuss more why that is in a bit. But essentially, the focus is to become all that God has intended us to be, and helping others to do the same. That's really what strategic life planning is all about. Now let me explain a little further. You see, the fact is that God made every one of us, as we know, in His image and in His likeness, so that we might have dominion over the entire earth, so that we would be fruitful and multiply, so we would be successful in life. God's intention is for every one of His children to be successful in life, to be everything He created us to be. Now, there's some problems, of course, in the definition, because remember, it's God who knows what a person should or shouldn't be, what their ultimate potential is in life and in the kingdom. We don't know. I mean, anyone that will tell you, I know exactly what you need to do, what you need to be successful, is probably arrogant at best. Other things at worst. But the fact is, God knows. It is God who's always working in us, both to work for and to will for His good pleasure. And it is His good pleasure to give us the keys to the kingdom, to have what we need to live life fully, to have the abundant life that He has promised us. So I'm not one that can say, look, I know exactly what you need to do and I can show you how to do it. But if there's a process of getting to know someone, of finding out what those God-given gifts and talents are, that's really important in a strategic plan. And that takes time. That takes some relational skills to be able to build up a relationship with someone to a place where they trust you enough to open their heart, open their mind, so that you can begin to reflect back to them, this is who you are according to how you're presenting yourself, and these are some of the things that you could do to make things better. But again, let's keep the goal in mind for a moment. It's to have a plan that's strategic to achieve a goal or a purpose. It's to be everything that God has created a person to be, and to help others do the same by becoming a Christian life coach. And so what we're talking about here in a strategic life plan is doing the things necessary to help someone to achieve the plan that God has innately placed within them. And we do that through what we call life coaching. Really, good coaching is really good teaching and really nothing else. That's from Pat Conroy in my losing season of my memoir. The fact is, good coaching is good teaching. Jesus, of course, was a master teacher. But he didn't teach as much didactically or by lecture as what we do today. He taught more by asking key strategic questions. Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say that I am, that the Son of Man is?" And they came up with various answers, but Peter said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." He said, "Hey, you didn't get that by natural wisdom, but my Father who is in heaven has revealed that to you. And upon this revelation, I will build my church." But Jesus got that from his disciples, not by telling them over and over and over again, "I'm the Messiah, I'm the Messiah, I'm the Messiah." No, they came to that through walking with him, through experiencing life together, and through asking strategic questions. Really, the traditional role of a life coach is to come alongside of someone long enough to be able to ask the right questions to help unveil the plan and the purpose that God has for that individual's life. In traditional life coaching, the focus is simply on achieving some goal that will include mastery of a skill or increasing one's income or position of influence. But really, from a Christian viewpoint, Christian life coaching is more than just about your financial life. It's more than just your physical life or even your psychological or relational life, but it also is dealing with your spiritual life, which is the core. It's the most important aspect of who we are, is our spiritual life, our walk with God. There are many different aspects to life coaching, many different areas of life that you can help coach somebody with. We'll be looking at that as we go. And of course, there are core competencies. And we're going to talk about what those core competencies are as we get more into the teaching. But let me just say that they all revolve around focusing on the needs of the person being coached and helping them to discover more and more of who they are, what they're called to do, what they're called to be, and then helping them to discover what skills are needed for them to achieve the purpose for which they've been called. I hope that's clear. And so what coaches end up doing is, again, spending time asking questions, helping to provide resources, areas of research in many cases, to help someone to become a better person, a more fulfilled person, but mainly a more grounded person in terms of who they are in God and what they're called to be and to do. So there's, coaching is, used in different ways. It's often used with leaders. It's used in faith, in our life in faith. It's important in terms of relationship building, and there are some major benefits that one can get from coaching. Let me just talk about that very briefly. Now, first of all, again, coaching in leadership is really about helping a leader become a better leader. And the assumption is that if you're a more whole, complete leader, whether you're a leader in the home, a leader in church, a leader in business, whatever your area of leadership or influence is, it's to help you to discover the skills necessary to be more effective as a leader. I mean, there's an assumption, I think, that many people have that leadership just is natural for some people. But I believe most leaders are developed. They grow over time. I mean, I'm not sure what Joseph would have become if he hadn't have first been thrown into a pit, if he hadn't then been sold into Potiphar's house and ended up in prison. I'm not sure what kind of person he would have been when he actually came to the position of being second in command under Pharaoh. Every one of those life experiences for him were important in shaping and molding his character as a future leader. So part of what we do as a coach is we do look at where a person has come from in order to see kind of the trajectory of where they're likely going to end up first if they continue with the same patterns they have, and or if we can make some mid-course correction in how they're doing things where they might end up, which would be much more satisfactory to them. And I believe that really God, who is working in us at all times by the Holy Spirit, is always trying to help us with little mid-course corrections so that we will be more successful, if you will, in what He's called us to be and to do. And so a life coach kind of comes alongside a leader, an individual with some influence, and helps with just slight corrections, suggestions, slight movement that will down the road make a big difference in terms of who they're going to be. It takes then faith. It really takes faith to be a coach, and it takes faith to be coached. That is, you have to have a certain level of trust. And trust comes through a number of means, but ultimately you can only trust somebody by trusting somebody. So it starts by choosing to have a relationship. And the relationship has to be valuable to the person, especially the one who is being coached. And one of the things that makes it valuable is the stewardship of that thing, the time, the talent, and the treasure that's invested in the process. And that's why in Christian life coaching, we strongly recommend that if you're the coach, you need to charge for your service. Now, I've violated that myself many, many times. I've coached people without money. And it usually doesn't work out so well. Now, again, why money? Because money is an expression of one's heart. Where your treasure is, there is your heart also. But it's also an expression, and a very important expression, of your willingness to really give all for the process. And so the concept of implied value is very important in life coaching. And so what we want is to be able to help someone make the decision that this is something they really want, and if so, they're going to pay for the time and the credibility of the person giving the coaching. Now, if you're a life coach yourself and you have years of experience in business or years of experience in ministry, and you've got lots of degrees and diplomas and credentials and all of that, well, then you probably don't need a whole lot of additional references, etc., to show your credibility as a potential coach. But if you're just starting out, let me just tell you, first and foremost, if you're a good person, you love God, and you're called to come alongside and help people, those are the most important qualifications of a good coach. Now, no question, you need some training, and that's really what we're talking about here and what this whole course is about. It's to provide the necessary training to help you to be successful as a Christian life coach. But also, if you're just looking for some help and some information, this course will really help you in your own process of kind of self-coaching and preparing yourself for greater things in God. And so part of it is you come alongside and you develop hopefully a trusting relationship. So it helps if you have a decent, warm personality. That's always good. It's absolutely essential that you have empathy, warmth, and respect. Empathy is the ability to feel with someone. In other words, I'm not coming along as a coach, as the almighty expert. Look, I got my own issues too. We all do. We're in the same boat. We're going to start paddling in the same direction together. That's the key. The difference is I've been through the rapids maybe a few more times than you have. Therefore, I know how to steer this thing in a direction that's going to be profitable for all. And so, if you're involved in Christian life coaching, what you want is to have someone that can come alongside of you that you feel comfortable with, that you can trust, that will listen to you, that has empathy. They feel with you. They don't feel sorry for you. I mean, the last thing most of us need is for someone to feel sorry for us, or even to feel sorry with us. We don't need someone to commiserate with our circumstance. We need someone that's more positive, more hopeful, yet realistic. I mean, someone that listens and listens carefully and reflects back to demonstrate understanding. And those skills, which we'll talk more about, they are really essential. Active listening and the ability to respond with wisdom, and especially based upon a knowledge of the Word of God, it's very important in Christian life coaching. Now, but the key thing is, you got to have empathy. Someone who has the ability to feel with it. We call it emotional intelligence, is really essential if you're going to be a good Christian life coach, or just a good person for that matter. Warmth really is that it's something that's perceived, it's something that's felt. When you're with someone, you feel like they're warm instead of cold, aloof, distant, or totally analytical. They have heart. And you can feel, if you will, the beat of their heart with you. It's akin to empathy, but it's a little deeper. It's a little more emotional. It's a sense that this person really cares, not just because they're getting paid, but they really care because they really care. And then respect is very important. Empathy, warmth, respect. In other words, the person that you're coaching, or if you're involved in a coaching relationship of any kind, there needs to be a certain amount of mutual respect. And respect is demonstrated in several ways. Number one, time. I mean, if I have an appointment with someone, how do I put it? Look, one of the problems I have with a lot of doctors, MDs, dentists, chiropractors tend to be a little better, and some therapists aren't much better than that, is that you've got an 8 o'clock appointment. It's 8, 8:10, 8:30, 8:45, and they blow in and they give you their 5 minutes and they blow out. And it's like, what was that all about? I mean, where is the respect for my time? Oh, but they're busy. What? I'm not? We're chopped liver? I thought we're the ones that are paying for that Porsche. Hello? There's no real sense of respect. Now, we respect them because of their knowledge. We respect them because, theoretically, they're the ones that are going to provide, on a script what's necessary for us to get well. But really, in terms of relationship, most people don't have much of a relationship with their doctor because their doctor is non-relational. They don't have much bedside manner. In coaching, you got to have a lot of bedside manner. You have to have a certain level of the ability to listen carefully and to show respect and to show love, and that respect is essential. Respect is also given by how you speak to someone, how you honor them as an individual, how you acknowledge how far they've come in their life considering where they may have started from. All of that's essential. And so part of the characteristics of a good, healthy Christian life coach is someone that has the ability to connect, build relationship. They're good people. Hopefully you have a certain amount of sense of humor, which helps you in the process. And one of the benefits, of course, that you get from coaching is, my goodness, when you get new information, when you get a nugget of truth that you can apply to your life, it can be life transforming. And I have been blessed, I have benefited personally from good, solid, healthy Christian life coaching. It has helped me in times when I was stuck, in a writing project, in times when I've been stuck in trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do in the next phase of my life. Coaching can be invaluable, and the benefits of it, they're immeasurable. So I really want to encourage you, if you're thinking about, get coached yourself, and if you need it, don't be afraid to ask for help. We all need it at times in our journey in life. But also, if you feel like, man, I just love coming alongside and helping people solve problems and get answers and find new ways to do things, you're just the kind of person that's needed to become a certified Christian life coach. So, there's a difference in many ways between mentoring then and coaching. A lot of people ask, really what is the difference? Well, the difference is several-fold, one of which is its focus. In mentoring, the focus is primarily, on the individual, on helping them as an individual solve a problem or work through something. Whereas coaching is focused on the performance. What is it we're trying to achieve? What is it we're trying to obtain? Now, mentoring, coaching, they can kind of go together and oftentimes do. In fact, sometimes counseling can be a part of it. In other words, when you're working with someone, you find that there are times that they have obstacles in their life that are rooted in decisions from the past or hurts or whatever. You really do have to help them resolve those things sometimes before you can mentor them as an individual or coach them in their ultimate performance. But the things, coaching, mentoring, counseling, they can kind of work together, and it's kind of like you got a three-sided hat. You just got to shift it as you need to when you're working with someone in the coaching profession. The role of the mentor is a facilitator, but there's no real agenda to speak of. You're just working together and just trying to help people with whatever comes up. But with coaching, there's a specific agenda. In other words, one of the questions, if you will, you could say, where do you want to be when you're 53? In other words, what is your goal between now and a certain age? And what is it you want to accomplish between now and that time? It's more specific. Or what would you like to change in terms of your future vocation? Or would you like to change your vocation completely? What kind of relationship? Is your goal marriage? What is your relationship like that you want to achieve? It's more specific in terms of the overall facilitation of that. It's a specific agenda. The relationship is, in many ways, in mentoring, it's self-selecting. The mentor chooses who they want. Well, it's also true in life coaching, but it's a mutual choice. In other words, the coach has to decide, I really want to work with this player, with this person, just as much as the person has to decide, I really want to work with this coach. The source of influence is the perceived value, and in some cases the point of influence is the position in coaching. I want to get to a certain place. The personal return is the affirmation, the learning, the growth that might come from the mentor. In coaching, it's more teamwork, and again, it's more performance oriented, and the whole arena is life, etc. in general is what mentoring's about. It's to grow in God, it's to have a good life, and in coaching it's a bit more task related. So it's to become a better leader, it's to become more effective as a pastor, it's to grow in a certain area of life, it's to strengthen my body, it's to get healthier, it's to lose weight, it's to gain weight, it's more specific in its focus. But whether coaching or mentoring, there's a lot of similarities between the two, and it really doesn't matter that much. The skills are somewhat the same, and we're going to be going into that in our next session. So in a strategic life plan, what we look for is coachable people who seek out those who speak truth to them, even if it's painful truth, because it protects them and makes them a better person, a better leader. So the purpose of Christian life coaching is to in some ways, to speak the truth in love. But it's really more speak the truth and recognize that that in and of itself is an act of love. That the goal is to help someone to face the truth about their strengths and their weaknesses, and as they face their strengths and their weaknesses, and as they resolve their weaknesses and gain new strengths, remember what Paul said, where I'm weak, there I've become strong. We recognize that God's in the middle of this whole thing. We help people to gain mastery in areas of their life that will help them to accomplish their goal. So strategic life planning, I mean, what it's all about, it's, Christian life coaching, it's about becoming everything God intended. Now, in our next session, we're going to start to lay some foundation in terms of the key principles of leadership, or the key areas of leadership that you're going to want to coach people into. We're going to look at Christ and see why Christ must be the center of everything that we do. We're going to look at community and how community is essential in building Christ-like character, which is the third thing. Then we're going to look at our calling, because everyone is called to be and to do something in the kingdom of God. And finally, we're going to look very specifically on our competency, which is the one thing that most people want. Just tell me what I need to do to reach my goal. Well, to reach your goal is not going to be that important if you don't have the right calling for the goal, if you don't have the right character to carry you to the place where you can fulfill the goal, if you don't have the community and the support necessary to really enjoy the benefit of the goal, and if you don't have Christ as the center of your goal. Well, look, I'm Dr. Stan DeKoven. This is Walk in Wisdom. We're talking about Christian life coaching, strategic life planning, and I hope you'll come back for our next session.